Hey lows, welcome back to my channel. It is intellectinheels, aka Cree, and we are back with another Cree talk. To all of my oldies but goodies, thank you for coming back, and to all of my newbies, welcome in. If you love beauty, fashion, faith with a sprinkle of lifestyle, you are going to definitely enjoy this channel. So I implore you to like, subscribe, comment, do all of that good stuff, and turn on your notifications so you never miss one of my uploads. Anywho, back to this Cree talk. You know, I've been learning a lot since I've been in Miami, and I've been learning a lot about being intentional and purposeful with my thoughts and with my actions. And so today we're going to be talking about how you can be intentional about creating an atmosphere of joy in your life, which is so important. So if you want to hear how I do that, stay tuned. Okay, loves, like I said, I've been here in Miami and I've been learning so much about myself. I've been leaning into God, and He's been really guiding and directing and giving me a whole lot of clarity on how I should move in this new season of life. And I am loving it. And so one of those important learnings and one of those important clarity and learning situations is learning how to lean in and be intentional about creating joy in your life. And how I do that, the most important thing is waking up and praying, because I'm a morning person. So as soon as I wake up, my mind starts going. It starts going. So it's very important for me to stop that and to start praying, because if I don't, I'll be off into something else, my phone, social media, all that other stuff. But I like to make sure that I'm being purposeful about my prayer time, about my time with God. And my prayer time just doesn't consist of talking to God. Sometimes I sit in silence. Sometimes I journal. I read my word. I go to the Bible app, do one of their plans. There are all kinds of ways that I spend time with God, but I make sure that I'm purposeful about doing that and intentional about doing that, because the more time you spend in prayer and the more time you spend in there, you don't really have time to think about anything negative. You don't really have time. When you're sitting there worshiping, focusing in on Him, focusing on His goodness, you really don't have time to be worried. You really don't have time to be thinking about all the other things that are not right. And if there are things on your heart that you feel that you can go, you need to get off your chest, that's the perfect moment to lay those things before Him at the beginning of the day, so that you can move through your day knowing that you have a burden that's been lifted, a burden that you have laid at His feet. Now, don't go picking back the burden back up, but yeah, you have laid that burden at His feet. Yeah, so that's the first most important thing, is I always start my day off in His presence and with prayer. And also, because I have to walk Peanut every day, that gives me the opportunity to also go outside and just reflect on the good things that are happening in my life. Reflect on gratefulness. I'm breathing, I'm walking. This is a beautiful day. I get to participate in all of those good things. So while I'm out in nature, just walking Him, I get an opportunity to focus in on all the good things in my life, which brings about a heart and an atmosphere of gratefulness. So you really don't want to dampen your mood by thinking of the things that are not quite going right. Even if you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, or if you don't have a dog like me, go outside, breathe in the fresh air, take a moment, stop, reflect before you start moving in your day. It may take getting up a little bit earlier so that you can do that, but it's always so important to stop, to reflect, take those moments so that you can think about the good and process the bad. Because sometimes we just don't take time to process our emotions, and then they get bottled up in there, and then we get frustrated and everything explodes. But that take time to really reflect and to process your emotions, because there's nothing wrong with having being mad or being sad or being frustrated. But if you take time to pray, you take time to reflect and process those emotions, then you can move through your day a little bit better, a little bit lighter, a little bit more informed, instead of projecting and coming from a place, because you can start attacking people or coming from a place of negativity when you haven't processed your emotions in a healthy way. I'm not going to say a correct way, because I don't think there's necessarily a correct way to process your emotions, but just processing your emotions in a healthy way. And the next thing I do to make sure that I'm being purposeful and intentional about my joy and about creating an atmosphere of joy is and the next thing I often do is just, again, think about the good. And a lot of times our frame of reference is from a negative place. So we're often thinking of the lack of our lives instead of all the things that we do have. We're always thinking from a place of lack instead of a place of abundance. So I'm always trying to think of how I can view my life and how I can skew my perspective to a place of abundance instead of a place of lack. Because I have to believe that I am exactly where I need to be, where my life is where it needs to be, where God has placed me is where I need to be, and I'm not missing out on anything, or I'm not missing anything, because what I need, God will supply in the right timing. So everything that I need, God has supplied, or it's within me. He has supplied it within me. So therefore, that's where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a place of abundance, not a place of lack, like, oh, I don't have this, or I don't have this, or I'm not looking like this or looking like that, or I don't have what they have. It's like, no, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I am enough. Everything I need, God is supplying, or He will supply. So when you have that faith in God and have your trust centered on a place of abundance, a place of, you know, that God is meeting all of your needs, then you don't really have time to think about what you don't have. You don't have time to focus in on what you don't have. Now, I'm not saying don't go for your goals. I'm not saying don't set goals or anything like that, but we have to, at some point, in order to get to those goals, be present and positive about where we are now, because the reason why we feel stuck a lot of times is because we're focusing on the negative. We're focusing on what we think we don't have, or think we don't. God hasn't supplied something that we think we need. And so we're focusing on that instead of focusing on all the things, the resources that we have to do what we can right now in this moment. Because what we can do right now is a building block on what we'll be able to do later. So every day is a building block on what you can do later. So that's why it's so important to me to focus in on these things, to keep my joy high, to keep my heart in a good place, to keep my heart posture in a good place, so that I can accomplish the goals that I set for myself. So, and also so that I can have more quality of life, because that's important for me, to have a quality of life. I want my everyday, I don't want to look back on any of my days and say that I didn't show up, that I didn't give my best, and that it, you know, some days it's hard. Some days you do have bad days, some days you do have hard days, but leaning into that joy will make that day that bit lighter and a little bit easier when you can kind of lean into that joy. And if you're having a bad day, acknowledge that you're having a bad day. Acknowledge that you're having that moment. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having emotions, but it's the way that we respond, the way that we react, the way we move through those emotions that are important. And if you're just having a normal, regular day, why not lean into gratefulness? Why not lean into joy? Because we want to make sure that we're making the best and we're showing up as our best every single day. Even if showing up of our best is 60%, even if showing up our best is 100%, we're showing up for our best any given day, and we're making sure that overall the quality of our lives are good. And that's what's important for me, that I have a good quality of life, that every day is as good as a day that I can potentially make it. So yeah, so that's what I do basically to be intentional about my joy, to make sure I'm leaning into joy, and to make sure that I have a good quality of life. I hope you guys enjoyed this little Cree talk that I was giving you, some tips and tricks on how to, just expand your thinking, expand your perspective, find ways, because sometimes it's hard. We're like, people are saying these things, but they're not giving me practical tips on how to make sure that I'm doing that. And I just want to come give you some practical tips on how I lean into joy, how I'm intentional about staying grateful, for how I am intentional about staying positive. I will be honest, I'm a pretty optimistic person in general, but these are some ways that have helped me when I'm having a hard time, to really, when I get frustrated, to really take that frustration and turn it into something positive and turn it into something else. Because I never want to be driven by hurt or pain. I want to be driven by gratefulness. So there you have it. That is my Cree talk for the moment. I will get off my soapbox now, and I am wishing everyone a good day, night, evening, afternoon, whenever you are watching this. Make sure again that you like, subscribe, and comment, and have a wonderful day, y'all. Light, love, and blessings. Peace out.